Katrina was the first storm to hit New Orleans in 40 years. It was really depressing to see the level of destruction and damages that occurred and the loss of life. It was just a huge national tragedy. It was obvious that Katrina was a monster storm, but it was also obvious that there were some things significantly wrong with the protective measures that had been put in place.
With 9 months to go before the next hurricane season, we had to very quickly do some assessments and draw some conclusions that could be applied to the recovery and repair work. Our response was to stand up an interagency performance evaluation task force, or IPET. We turned to Dr. Ed Link, first of all, because he knows the Corps and is of the Corps. He used to serve as our Director of Research and Development.
I said, wow, can I think about it? And my wife Anita said, you really don't need to think about it. How can you not do this? I mean, these walls are still very vulnerable. It's a career challenge to take on a responsibility like this. It was really critical to really understand why the structures here behaved as they did, and to do the repairs properly and to not build vulnerability back into the system. The first thing we did was divide up the work that we had to do in 10 major areas, and then we found leaders for those areas, and we asked them to build teams.
Ed's basic approach to problem solving, I think, is one of the things that really drew me to him.
Hopefully we're laying a foundation for the future.
I knew Ed had a different way of thinking about things that would be very useful to us in this effort.
I was born in Easton, Pennsylvania, and grew up there. Basically lived there until I moved to North Carolina to go to college. I was on the varsity soccer team at North Carolina State, and I was fortunate to be named to the All-American team my senior year. I met my wife while I was in college, and I went to work for the Corps in 1968. I had an intense desire to be involved in research, and the Corps is probably the largest and most significant civil engineering research organization in the country or the world. And I stayed with the Corps for 34 years.
Having served in the Corps of Engineers, I knew that Ed had a certain sense of loyalty to the organization, but I made it very clear to him from the beginning that this was not about trying to put the Corps of Engineers in a good light, that it was to be an unbiased assessment.
The major guidance I got from him was poking me in the chest and saying, don't you dare protect the Corps of Engineers.
Well, I may have tapped him lightly in the chest when I did that.
It was a very difficult challenge, trying to do a forensic analysis and repairs at the same time.
T-wall will just cover the 400 feet.
We used a centrifuge. In fact, we used the largest centrifuge in the world. The IPET report was due to be completed about the same time as the repairs, so we had to feed new knowledge to the people who had the hard job of doing the repairs in a ridiculously short time frame. You're putting a lot of good protection in place here.
As IPET was able to come up with some of the answers to why, we were able to integrate those into both the repairs and in the follow-on work that we've subsequently executed.
For me, it was a remarkable experience. The atmosphere that Ed created of collegiality, of professionalism, of integrity, and of technical excellence was really something that was very rewarding for all of us that were part of it.
When we started IPET, we didn't have this map. We had to create it.
We have the opportunity now that we didn't have in the past to really prioritize our work We know what areas are most at risk, and we know where now to devote our energies in rebuilding our region.
From the wealth of information that has come out of this in-depth analysis, we've really tried to begin to impact the way the engineering profession looks at storm hazard and levee problems across the country.
The challenge is to take those lessons learned from Katrina and make sure they're not just simply lessons observed, but that we in fact have implemented changes because of it.
As a citizen, we need confidence that people can return here, and I think getting the word out that what we're doing to take steps to make this system work as a system is going to give people that confidence.
I think we're finally getting science and engineering to the problem, educating the public, and the end results hopefully will be a safer place to live.
Well, Ed, I want to personally congratulate you on this recognition. It is certainly well deserved. And I do that not only personally, but on behalf of the Corps of Engineers and in fact the entire nation. Not only have you produced a wonderful work of scientific analysis, but you provided us with a framework that will be used for generations to come when we're tackling problems of this complexity and of this importance.
Without Ed's leadership, this thing would not have been successful as it was. I have often said that Ed performed miracles.